This is interesting. The news is mentioning something this evening about a cluster of cancer in this one high school in New Jersey. I always wonder, how do they know if they were biologically targeted, if it's a fluke? Again, a fluke might be electrolyte to electrolysis outside in a short band, long band radio wave. But, how do they know for sure? I see the mayor. For me, he looks familial. I mean, in a camaraderie sense on this side of the water in Northeast, because there's so few that I ever see highlighted on the TV that are left, here. Again, it's like litter that's scattered, and it feels like or it looks like, from what I've been able to document just recently, now that I have the TV on, that the reporting, it seems to have gotten a little bit better the longer that I've done this. But when I first started, it really felt like all the reporters were in some other, whatever, the not us category. I didn't know where all of my us went in the US. I'm like, no, they labeled it a certain way. It's pronounced in English a certain way. I'm in North America. There is a North American face. There's definitely signs. But then there also seems to be this unspoken of disappearing population in alarming ways, but I don't know who to seek out, or really seek out, is in order to ask permission or help from. I mean, to figure out where they could have, is it migrationary? Is it some catastrophe that somebody's got to have documented it somewhere. Again, so there's a woman who's upstairs. They were moving out this weekend. She said that she mentioned to me, I was asking her some of, because she's actually from Colombia, so she says, that's the beseech that she says to me. I only have her face value. I have one other in the neighborhood, their stories match up, but again, I've never traveled to Colombia, so I have no way of knowing whatever. So for this theater, in what's arrived and spoken to me, she referred to herself as Colombian. I have no way of vetting it. She said that her people that live here, when they have some medical procedure thing that they need, they don't go here to the doctors. They go home. I thought that was very interesting. She says for medical, for dental, for whatever. I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then she said, and especially she said the new thing is, it's a 90, 60, 90, and she did this hand movement she said for all the medical procedures. And I'm assuming she means cosmetic procedures. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Again, I'm not like worldly in the sense of travels much, but there's a lot of travels, a lot, like in from all different places, faces, sounds, whatever, here. So I found that I don't know why, but it almost has this like new flavor of like, it's like a boarding house sense of some sort. They also mentioned on the news in a different section that there were like 220,000 people trying to cross the border. Something about Article 42. I'm thinking, I'm in Empire State, I'm in Big Apple. I'm like, is that one of those Jackie robbing the Suns things that they're trying to do or get rid of? Because they got something in place during this pandemic to stop like this massive influx of like, they call it migrants. Who's the MI giving the grant to do this and to push up on the United States like this or the USA like this? That's what I don't understand, because they make it sound like they're coming into the interior of the USA. So that gets confusing because I don't even know if that's alerted properly on the televised portion of this. I mean, I'm in something, it's hidden or buried in the calendar, but the letters line up to read Jason, DJ, FM, AM, J. So, or MJ. So I'm like, but this is what the news sounded like. It sounds like they, like, and this morning I found this thing about that geophone for like the orthopedic thing I've got going on with the way my body is interacting with. It's difficult to hit my steps. I'm no longer like a delicate cat, like walking in this like smooth motion. It's now like, it feels like this very rough, like stomping, which I can't help. It's just the way the interaction is working at the moment. But this is the rudimentary tools that they've given some of these people in New Jersey, because they found something called a cluster. But again, if the hospitals are not reporting their data properly for one reason or another, whatever it is, then the professionals at data analytics are not able to analyze the data in the way that's needed. So this, and then resources and appropriate measures are stalled or become ineffective. I don't understand why this is taking place in this manner.
Very concerning data sparked an environmental investigation at Colonia High School in Woodbridge Township, New Jersey. A former student noticed a trend and found more than 100 others like him had been diagnosed with...
Hold on, this is the symbol. And this is the evening news.
Brain tumors. For about half of those former students, the tumors were cancerous. Well, now officials are stepping in, trying to figure out what's going on. Eyewitness News reporter Shantae Lands has the story.
Two environmentalists use a GPS satellite device to test for radiation on the grounds of Colonia High School. The environmental engineering firm T&M Associates was contracted by Woodbridge Township after growing concerns about a possible link between the Central New Jersey school and brain cancer.
My wife fought like crazy. At the time, the median lifespan for her type of tumor was like 18 months. She made it 5 years.
Jason Wasinski lost his wife Janice 10 years ago to an inoperable brain tumor called anaplastic astrocytoma. Her sister Cheryl Black also died from brain cancer in 2015. They learned of their tumors 8 days apart. Janice was pregnant with her and Jason's only child.
My wife was awesome, and I think about her every day. I talk to her all the time.
Both sisters graduated from Colonia High, just like Al Lupiano in 1989, his wife Michelle in 91, and his...
Are these possibly linked to the vaccines that we were all given as kids in some whatever that the parents pushed into our systems before anyone explained anything or then disappeared? I mean, without giving us college educations and things. I'm just curious how that works.
Angela DeSillis in 1995. All three have been diagnosed with a brain tumor. Al's sister Angela died on February 17th from glioblastoma multiforme, or GBM. The environmental scientist and industrial engineer picked up on a potential pattern.
I had told my sister from the very beginning that it's too much of a coincidence that me, my wife, and her all have the same tumor.
He started researching and made a public plea on Facebook to anyone from the school who was diagnosed with primary brain tumors. He found a total of 104 former students and faculty. About half are cancerous.
It's alarming because there's just so many people with either a tumor, malignant or benign, and it's serious. We have to really take a look at it.
Woodbridge Mayor John McCormick says last Saturday, environmentalists placed radon canisters like this one inside the school to collect indoor air samples. Some students are concerned.
We're just going to have to wait to find out. Obviously, everyone's praying and hoping for the best.
The environmental testing is expected to last a month. This school will remain open. Mayor McCormick says the Environmental Protection Agency is now involved. We reached out to them. We're waiting to hear back. In Woodbridge Township, New Jersey, Shantae Lands, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Now, what I also don't understand is, from somebody who graduated from high school, but was high school being like the time wasted in my breeding cycle just so I was whatever. Not that I learned anything there. What I don't understand is having that level of education or lack thereof. What is this EPA? How do people even learn about, like, there's no directory given of letter acronyms, of how the state is built, of where to reach out to if, I mean, like, talk about unique curriculum in high school. What about, like, I mean, easy stuff? Give them the letters, give them the phone numbers, drive the facts home of, like, in your life frame, or if somebody in your neighborhood, or, like, I mean, why is none of this being spoken about to the children in, I mean, like, I'm in the state of New York, so it's Empire State, it's the Big Apple, it's the whatever, but what about the rest of the interior of the USA? I mean, how are they functioning? What's going on with this? Today they spoke something about a graduate program. How does that even work? Like, I mean, these were not words or things, concepts that were even spoken about in my house, in my area, in my life frame. Like, why were we kept out of it, one? And now that we were kept out of it, if we encounter issues, how do we call for help? And how do we alert the others that actually made it through some process and actually are thriving or doing well? Like, how do you bridge that gap? I mean, like, there's no answers anywhere. It's so frustrating. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.